Yo guys, it's Griff here, back with another video, and today I am talking about my League One predictions. They are not biased. I feel like these are actually predictions. Obviously these are only early predictions, so only take them as a pinch of salt because everything can change. So the first team I'm predicting in 24th position, I've predicted Stevenage. I'm sorry, Stevenage fans. I just don't feel like you have enough to stay up this year. Even though you have just come up from League Two, I feel like you're going to go straight back down. I guess you could surprise me, but I just don't really feel like Stevenage have enough to stay up this season, especially as they are low on funds to compare with some of the other teams in this division. The next team is Leyton Orient, also coming up from League Two. I again feel like these don't have enough to stay up either. I don't know, it just gives me a feeling like Leyton Orient don't have enough because they're still quite a new team to League Two because of obviously they were in the National League only a few years ago, and I think they've got some quality players, but I just don't feel like they haven't got enough to stay up. The next team is Cheltenham Town. Obviously, I don't mind Cheltenham Town because they provided Ben Tozer to Wrexham FC. I just don't feel like Cheltenham have enough to stay up. I don't mind Cheltenham. I think they'll do okay, but I think they'll be close, but just not good enough to be able to stay up this year. But they'll give it a fight, I reckon. I think they'll try their best, but I just don't think they'll have enough in the tank to be able to go the whole year without falling off at least once. The next team is Port Vale. I don't know. I'm not too keen on Port Vale. I feel like they've got a poor following. I feel like they've not got enough this year to stay up because they didn't do too well last year, and I just feel like they're going to be with relegation again. And I think Port Vale, the stadium's all usually empty there. I like the away end there. I might try and go there this year, but I just don't feel like Port Vale have enough to stay up this year because I've got a YouTuber that I follow from Port Vale and I really like him, but I just don't feel Port Vale have enough to stay up this season. The next team is Northampton. I reckon Northampton will just survive. I feel like they've got a few quality players that can just lift them out of the relegation zone, and they'll have enough to stay up this year. It won't be easy for them by no means, but I just feel like Northampton have enough this year because they've got those quality players and a good manager to be able to keep them up. The next team is Fleetwood. I don't mind Fleetwood. Obviously, it's quite close to where I live because obviously I like the manager there. I like Fleetwood. I think they're a decent side. I might try and go to Fleetwood away with Reading next season. But I think Fleetwood will be fine. They'll be good. I think it won't be easy again, but Scott Brown should be able to get them over the line as they'll stay up comfortably, I think. The next team is Burton Albion. Burton, they're a decent side. They were flirting with relegation. Yes, well, no, they were mid-table-ish last year, weren't they? So they'll do okay this year, but I don't know if they'll be too happy with this or not. I just felt like they weren't going to have their best season or their worst season. But they can surprise me, I don't know how they're going to do. They're quite an unpredictable team, I would say. Moving on to Carlisle. I really do like Carlisle. They've got a really good following. I think they're a decent side. They bring a lot to League One. I'd say they've got one of the better followings in League One. And I think they'll do all right this season. Coming up from League Two, they'll be comfortable. They'll be happy in League One, I think, and they'll build on that for next year even. The next team is Oxford United. Oxford are a decent side, the freestand stadium. It's weird, I think Oxford, they were up there for my playoffs maybe last year, but this year I just don't feel like they've got enough this year. I think the teams for League One this season are all very good, and I honestly think it's one of the more competitive League Ones this season. And also, Oxford also could surprise me, but I just don't think they will surprise me this year, and I think they'll finish in this position. The next team is brilliant Bristol Rovers. They've got a really good following. It's a tough place to visit in Bristol, and I feel like they came up from League Two last season. and I think they've got enough to do well again this season, and I think they'll be pretty happy with this finish because they're a decent side, and maybe they can push on next season because they'll do all right this season. I think they'll be fine this season. Next is Lincoln, also another team with a good following. I just don't feel like Lincoln will be able to push for the playoffs, but I think they'll be safe from relegation, so you'd say like near a mid-table finish, and they'll be okay with that. They'll be pretty pleased, I reckon, and I think that's what will be okay with them. The next team, I love this team, Cambridge. I'm not actually a fan of Cambridge as in like follow Cambridge, but I do really like Cambridge and I rate them as a team. They've got really good fans behind the goal, make a racket. I really love the YouTuber from Cambridge, makes great vlogs, and I think Cambridge will be alright this season. They were flirting with relegation last season, but I think this season they're going to be good this season, and I think that they'll have a mid-table finish, and I reckon everyone will be pleased in Cambridge with that because I really do like Cambridge, but not just that's why I'm putting them there. I do think they'll do alright this season. The next team is Wycombe Wanderers. Obviously, Wycombe don't have a brilliant following, but I think they'll do alright this season. I don't know if they'll be happy with it after their playoffs. Last few seasons they've been pushing for playoffs. I just don't feel like they've got enough to be in the playoffs this season, but I think they'll do okay. And I just don't think they'll be able to go up. I think the mid-table finish, I'd maybe be a bit disappointed, I would say, with that. The next team is Charlton Athletic. Obviously, the Valley Stadium is a massive stadium and they've got good following, Charlton do. But I just don't feel like Charlton have enough to go up this season. I think they'll be close to the playoffs, but I think they're just going to miss out, unfortunately. I don't mind Charlton, I just don't feel like they've got enough this season. They've got a few quality players, but just not this season. Next is excellent Exeter. I really do like Exeter. I really rate their fans down there. Obviously, the rivals to Plymouth, their Plymouth have gone up and Exeter aren't too pleased with that. But I watched the Plymouth v Exeter game and I was really pleased with how Exeter put in a good performance against the playoff team. And I feel Exeter have a good side. And with the brilliant following they've got, I think they'll do well this season. I think they'll be happy finishing here. And I think they might even do better than I'm predicting at the moment. The next team is Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury is a very local team for me, as in local, I'd say like an hour and a half, so I think Shrewsbury will do okay this season. They've got a few decent players, but I just don't feel like they'll be able to get the playoffs that they're maybe hoping for, but they'll be close. They've got a few good players. I've bought a few players of Shrewsbury in my FIFA career modes over the time, and they've been really good quality. And I feel like if Brixton is still there, I think they'll do okay. And he's one of my favourite players there. And they've got a solid defence and they'll do okay this season. The next team is Portsmouth. Obviously, this is the player career mode I'm doing at the moment. And I do rate Portsmouth. They always disappoint me, Portsmouth, with their finishes. Usually, I always say playoffs. But this year, I think they'll miss out on the playoffs. And I don't think they'll be pleased with that, really. I just feel like they've got a few good players, but then I just don't feel like they'll be able to get those playoffs this season. But they might surprise me, but they usually surprise me by doing worse than I expect. So hopefully they do better than I expect, because I really do like Portsmouth. The next team is Wigan Athletic. Maybe this is low for some people, obviously just coming from the Championship. Wigan usually are some of the favourites to go up, but this season I just don't feel like Wigan will be able to go up this season. I don't think they'll get the playoffs. I just feel like they don't have a strong enough team, and the financial issues will come through to the team and they won't be able to buy many players. The next team is Blackpool. Blackpool are obviously a really good side. They were decent last season. They shocked a few teams by beating QPR and the other teams, and I really did rate Blackpool. Fans are really good there. You've got a small amount of fans, but they're really good there. But I just don't feel like Blackpool. I think they'll be happy with a playoff position, but I don't think they'll go up through the playoffs. But I think they'll do okay, to be honest. But I think they'll be okay. They'll be all right. I don't think they'll be one of the top team in the playoffs. They'll just scrape in before Wigan. The next team is Posh, Peterborough. I think Peterborough are a good side. I don't know how they bottled it against Sheffield Wednesday in the playoffs last season. That was embarrassing. But I mean, Peterborough should be alright. They've got some good players at Peterborough. It's not an easy place to visit. Obviously, quite an old stadium they've got there. But I think Peterborough will be good this season, and they'll be able to get that playoff position they're looking for again like they got last season, and I think they might go up actually. I'm not too sure. I do think Peterborough have a good chance of going up with some of the quality players they have. The next team is Bolton. Obviously, I love Fogden. I love some of the players they got there. They're losing James Trafford for 19 million. That's a lot of money for a League One goalkeeper, and I think he's a really good player. So they will be able to replace him, and Bolton have a really good following. They've got a really nice stadium. I'll try and go to Bolton away if I can, and I really do rate Bolton fans. I rate the team also. They've got some really good young players, and I really think Bolton are going to do well this season. Next is Barnsley. Barnsley are a really good side. Unfortunately, losing their manager isn't going to be easy to Swansea, but I think they'll do okay this season. I think they'll be fine. I think third position, they'll be happy with that. I just feel like Reading have a bit more, and Derby have a bit more squad depth than maybe Barnsley do. But Barnsley, Oakwell, really tough place to visit, and I do rate them. The next team is my team, Reading FC. I think we're going to get second position. I think I would be really happy with that, just the automatic playoffs position, and I feel like that would be really good for us. But obviously the financial issues could carry out into the team, and then we might not be ready. And hopefully we can just stay as a club. But a position like this would be really good for us, as we'd go up automatically. It will never be easy for us. It will never. But I think we do have enough this season to go up. I think with the new manager and some new players coming in and new players and the same players staying, we should be good to go up this season. And the team I'm predicting to finish first is Derby County. I really do rate Derby. They've got some really good following, good fans, and they've got a really good squad. They're always very well organised. They always know what they're doing, and I think they'll get this first position comfortably, I think, actually. Reading will challenge them, I think, but I just really do feel like Derby are good enough to finish first and go back to where they are supposed to be in the Championship, or either go on to Premier League, because they're a really big club, and I don't think they're really a League One club. So that finishes all my predictions for today. Obviously, these are my early predictions, so only take them as a pinch of salt. I'll just let you a second to digest all the predictions. So there are all my predictions. Thanks for listening. It's been Griff. Drop a like, and I'm out.